going on here? So we have the books here. So we're just gonna ignore that. I've got hello, and that is for this book. This I can't actually remember what I rated it. Caravel. They like Zoe. Yeah, that is my. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Kiara and I talk about books and lifestyle content and anything sort of in between, but mostly about books, sometimes lifestyle content. Well, I haven't done that yet, but I'm planning to. So for today's video, I am going to be doing my September wrap up. I read 6 books in September, which is my best month of the year so far this year. I've been in a huge reading slump all year this year due to my mental health, and in the last month I actually managed to get myself out of that reading slump, which I was so grateful for because I was sick of not reading anything. I missed reading so much and I'm finally back into my groove. I'm filming this video on the 2nd of October, so I'm a little late already, and I was planning on waiting a week to post my next video, but I might post this one a little early. Point is, I'm not too sure when this video is going to get put out there. It is the 2nd of October already. I'm a little late to be doing this, but that's fine. We push through. So I'm just going to get started. I think I'm going to go in order of which books I read first and all the way through to the most recent book that I read, which I'll have to check on Goodreads because I don't actually remember the order in which I read these. What is going on here? It's like the sunlight is coming. There's like trees and it's just like reflecting on my face. Just ignore that. I have some physical copies of books and then a few that I don't have physical copies of because I either read it on my Kindle or I lent it to a friend. But that's beside the point. So we have the books here. 2 of them are not books. These 2 are not books that I read this month. I just grabbed them off my shelf for the thumbnail. So we're just gonna ignore that. So I'm just gonna go in chronological order. And I've got my Goodreads. I've got Goodreads up on my phone so that I remember the order that I read the books in because I do not remember. So the first book that I'm going to be talking about, I'm sure everyone watching this video has at least heard of it. You may not have read it, but you've probably heard of it. And that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. This book was the first book that I picked up after my reading slump and I just loved it so much. I obviously saw all the hype around this book and I saw everyone talking about it and I was a bit unsure, if I'm being honest, because everyone knows that when TikTok starts hyping up a book, you know, it can go a little crazy and sometimes the books just do not live up to the hype. But let me tell you, this book lived up to the hype so much. I freaking adored this book, everything about it. 5 stars. It was mwah, chef's kiss. I ate this book up. On the off chance that you haven't heard of this book, which I seriously doubt, but on the off chance that you haven't heard of this book, I'm gonna give a little description overview of what this book is about. But I'm just gonna be honest, I suck at describing what books are about, so I may not do well. So pretty much this book, the main character is Violet, and it's set in a world where you have to go to this school, and when you go to the school, it's a war college actually, you pick sort of what area you want to study in, or like where you want your career to go, like what you want to do with your life almost. And Violet has been preparing her whole life to go into the scribe quadrant, which is like books, writing, academics sort of vibe. But after her father passed away, her mother is forcing her to go into the writer's quadrant, which is like kind of the complete opposite of the scribes quadrant. And so she's forced to go into the writer quadrant, and there's all of these like trials and tests and all that kind of stuff that she has to pass. And at the end of it, you become a writer, but you have to bond with a dragon, or a dragon will bond with you and choose you. I don't really know, it's sort of hard to explain, but the world building in this was not super heavy. It was very light world building. It was really easy to read, easy to adjust to a fantasy book. As far as fantasy books go, usually I struggle a little bit to get into it because I don't really understand what's going on. It's a whole new world and everything, but this book was so easy to just get into it and know where like kind of understand where the setting was for the book. I don't know if that makes sense or not. So I have 2 fantasy book slash series that I literally are my to die series. If I think too hard about these series, I genuinely could burst into tears. And one of those books is the ACOTAR series by Sarah J Maas, and I love that series with my whole heart. I'm not saying that Fourth Wing is anything like the ACOTAR series, but the way that the book made me feel, this book made me feel the same way I felt when I read ACOTAR. And the love interest, like I love him as much as I love the love interests in ACOTAR. Like, oh, this book is just mwah, 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 mwah. Love it. Mwah. Adore this book so much. 5 stars, 100%. I could talk about this for so long. What is going on with this lighting? I'm actually gonna lose my mind. I just want to keep talking about it. Can you tell? I'm gonna put it down now. So the next book that I read was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This threw me off, okay? These 2 books. This is by Rebecca Yarros and this one's by Rebecca Ross. This confused the heck out of me for so long. Anyways, right to the point. So I read Divine Rivals. That was the next book that I read after Fourth Wing. And I really enjoyed this. I can't actually remember what I rated it. I really enjoyed it. I got into it very quickly. It was... I loved it so much. So this is about, the main character's name is Iris. This book is also in 3rd person. Hello? Okay, so I just got interrupted by a phone call and now I don't remember what I was up to, and this thing is happening to my face again. Okay, that's better. I was supposed to film this a lot earlier on in the day and then I just got really busy and didn't. So here we are now. So this book is about Iris, the main character, and it's a semi-fantasy book. I wouldn't say it's like hardcore fantasy. It's just got like subtle bits of fantasy in it. That's just my opinion though. It is marketed as a fantasy book, but my opinion is it's not super full-on fantasy. There's gods in this world and 2 of the gods are having a war right now. You have to pick sides pretty much, and there's people fighting for like both different sides on the war. And Iris's brother is one of those people who is fighting for the war. And Iris works for a newspaper called the Gazette, or the Oath Gazette or something like that. In that newspaper, she has her rival Roman, and they are both essentially trying to get the same position. Anyway, that happens for a little while, and then eventually she goes to where the war is to work as a correspondent, a war correspondent. But pretty much she goes to the war to write about it and send it back to a newspaper so they can publish what's going on in the war. And that's all I'm really going to say about it, because I feel like that's a little too much. Like the rest of it, you just have to read it to find out. But it was really good. I rated this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I do struggle with anxiety, and sometimes there's really random topics in books that tend to like trigger me in a way. It makes me feel like anxious. So reading this book and then being at the war and everything, I felt really anxious during those parts and almost had a panic attack. I didn't, but I almost had a panic attack over it, but it's fine. I pushed through. I read the book. Am I still gonna read the second one? Yes. However, it did cause me a little anxiety. On to the next book. The next book that I read, I do not have it on me because I lent it to one of my friends, but that is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and I really enjoyed this book. It's pretty much about this girl. It's dual POV, firstly. It's about this girl, Anastasia, and this guy, Nate, and pretty much they have, at their college, they have 2 ice skating rinks that they use, and one of them gets trashed and like they have to redo the whole thing. And so the figure skaters and the hockey players, which Anastasia is a figure skater and Nate is a hockey player, they have to share one rink. It's like forced proximity, low-key mad at each other to lovers. I wouldn't say enemies to lovers because I don't think they were enemies, but I'd say they were like, there was tension when they had to share the ring, from Anastasia's side anyway. not gonna get too much into it. And it's just really good. It was really cute. I loved it so much. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I gave that one 4 stars. I just really enjoyed it. So 4 stars to Icebreaker. The next book that I read was, I think it's called The Lost Sisters. Hold on. Yeah, The Lost Sisters, which is it's a novella in the Folk of the Air trilogy, which is The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Hi.
I have to try one of these poppy things.
Mm-hmm.
No, Jonesy. They're crystals.
Were you putting a crystal in?
I thought it was like
Popping candy or something?
I was just tasting it.
You just licked it?
Yeah, I just put it in my mouth. And I was like swishing it around my mouth to get a taste and a pop. But instead it felt like
Oh,
crystal.
that's funny. The Lost Sisters is part of the Folk of the Air trilogy, which is also like The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. So I read that, and I read it on FaceTime with one of my best friends, and we really liked it. For a novella, it was really good. The main character of the Folk of the Air trilogy is Jude, and she has her sister Taryn, and this novella, The Lost Sisters, is pretty much a letter from Taryn to Jude, talking about Taryn's perspective through some of the stuff that happens in the first book. I'm pretty sure it's placed in between The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. Actually, I'm gonna double check that. Yeah, it's Folk of the Air 1.5. And it was really good. I rated it 3 stars. I did really enjoy it. It was only 50 pages or so, so it was a very quick read. I think we read it in like half an hour. And yeah, it was really good. So I would highly recommend that if you've read The Cruel Prince. The next book that I read is Caraval, I think that's how you say it, by Stephanie Garber. And I wouldn't even know where to begin to trying to explain what this book is about. You know what, I'm gonna give it my best shot to try and explain what this book is about, but it's really hard. So pretty much Caraval is this game that happens once a year, and the master legend who like runs the game holds it in this place, in a different place every year. And this year that the book is set in, it is held on this island thing. I don't know. And the main character Scarlett and her sister Tella want to go to the game, and so they go, and it's like no one in the game can be trusted. So many people are acting, people are like, they're trying to compete for this prize, which is like a wish. And it's a fantasy book, by the way, in case I haven't already said that. It was so good. I read this in 2 sittings. I sat down the first night I started to read it, and I read it until like 2 o'clock in the morning and was like, no, I need to sleep. And then the next night I picked it up and I just finished it in 1 sitting. Like, well, it was technically 2 sittings, but I finished the last half of the book in 1 sitting. And it was so good. 5 stars, absolutely loved this. On to the last book that I read this month, and I actually technically finished it on the 1st of October, but I read most of it on the at the end of the month, so we're just counting it as a September read. And that is The Hardest Fall by Alan Mays, I think. And this is another sports romance. This book is pretty much about the main character Zoe and her and actually there's 2 main characters because it's dual POV. So the main characters are Zoe and Dylan, and they meet for the first time at a party, and Zoe has been dared by her friends to go kiss Dylan. Turns out he's in a relationship, and so they make like a pact that if they see each other again in the future that they'll kiss. And then obviously they meet again, but they end up as accidental roommates. So it's forced proximity, and this is a spicy book. There's lots of sexual tension, there's a lot of references throughout the book, so I would not recommend this to younger viewers, but it was really good. I really liked it. There wasn't many spicy scenes throughout the book. It was just towards the end that there was a couple of spicy scenes, but they were like very descriptive from my perspective, from what I've read. But yeah, most of it is quite slow burn as well. And there's also like a subplot to do with Zoe and her family, but I'm not going to say that because it's sort of a spoiler. But anyway, I rated this 3 stars. I'm getting a little harsher with my ratings the more books that I'm reading, because I'm reading more books that I really love, and then the other books that I'm reading I'm like, oh, I really liked that, but like it was not compared to like that. So I feel like maybe a year ago I would have rated this like 4 or 5 stars, but this year I'm like, it's good, but was it From Lukewarm with Love good? No. Was it as good as Icebreaker? No. There were some things in this book that made me cringe really hard that I struggled with, but it was still a good book, so 3 stars. I would recommend it. I did really enjoy it. It took me about 100 pages to get into this book. But anyway, I still really enjoyed it. I'm just a little stricter with my ratings now, but 3 stars is still a good rating for me, and I would say, yeah, I recommend this. So yeah, that is my September wrap up. I'm a little unsure when I'm going to post this video, but I hope it's as close to the end of September as it can be, because we're already into October now. So I hope that I actually post it like closer to September rather than like mid-October or a week into October. Sorry if this video was like all over the place. I've never done a video like this where I sit down and do a monthly wrap up. Hopefully it'll be a little more structured next time and I'll have a bit more time to plan. I kind of didn't realize that October had started. It just kind of like snuck up on me, and then I was like, oh shit, we're in October. But here we are, and so I rushed a little bit to get this video made. But yeah, if you watched this far, thank you so much for watching, and I'm kind of confident that I'm going to be able to post every week, but I don't want to get my hope. Okay. Anyways, I'm feeling pretty confident that I'll be able to post every week, but I don't want to get my hopes up that I'm going to do that. But I mean, it's been a week and I filmed 2 videos this week, so I'm really proud of myself, because with the way my mental health has been the last year, it just didn't seem like something that was going to happen anytime soon, but here we are, it's happening. So yeah, hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!